Where we go? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yo, we have some people in this building that we want to hear. So when people get up to speak, be enthusiastic so those senators can hear us, okay? I don't think they heard you. Thank you all for attending today. I'm Darren Spann, Assistant to Executive Director Dave Philman, AFSCME Council 13. I, like many of the people who speak today, spoke in the public hearing to the Senate. And I want to stand here and commit to all of you that we will do, Council 13 and AFSCME will do all we can to make sure that these centers stay open for the employees and for the residents. We believe the decision to close these centers is ill-advised, and it was a rash decision. And the things that Teresa Miller said about the employees who work here was out of line, and we demand her to apologize to these employees and reverse the decision. The first speaker will be Bill Bailey from SEIU 668.
Thank you, everybody, for being here, all of my union brothers and sisters on the steps today and everyone else. As I said earlier, I testified before a Senate subcommittee today, and I submitted about an 8-page speech and got 3 minutes to talk because a lot of people spoke who had a lot of good things to say. There were a couple of people who had the party line to say. That's pretty much what I heard from Secretary Miller, the exact same thing she's been saying over and over and over again without really any validity behind what they're saying. Part of my speech had to do with the fact that the numbers don't add up. People in Pennsylvania are getting older. This is not just the people with an intellectual disability, but many of them who live at home with their caregivers. Those caregivers are getting older. At the different state centers, we've been getting intakes, even though they say they have closed intakes decades ago. That's not true. We're getting individuals who are young. They're reaching what's known as a service cliff, so they've been supported through early intervention services most of their life, and now their parents are in their 60s, and they're not capable of providing that in-home care. Every single person we've gotten in the state centers came out of multiple community home placements that could not support them. When they arrive at the state centers, their behavior stabilizes, they suddenly have a life that has meaning for them, and we've gotten really good at that over the past 5 or 10 years. When those young people do move back into the community, and they do move back into the community, so don't get under the impression that we bring them in and keep them forever, they're able to stay in the community because the people who are taking them in to support them understand what they need because of the work that's being done by the employees of the state centers, okay? The numbers don't lie. I work in the psychology department. I have a master's degree. I represent mostly people who have master's degrees, who are licensed, who are professionally certified. What's interesting is we make considerably less than the national average for people in our profession working at the state centers. I'm okay with that because the people who do the direct care work are the people who make more money than the people trying to do the work in the communities. People in the communities are starting out at $7.58 an hour. That's why they have such a rapid turnover. That's why they struggle to fill 11,000 shifts a day. That's public knowledge. We don't struggle to fill those shifts at the center because the people who come in to do our work come in, they're trained, they become highly trained, and they're allowed to use the compassion that is a part of their heart to do work that they love to do with people that they grow to love. That shouldn't change just because somebody made a decision who's not really willing to take accountability for that decision. I keep asking, where did this decision come from? No one seems to want to take credit for it. So I'm asking that question again. I asked it in January of Kevin Dressler, the regional director for the Office of Developmental Programs, and asked of all 4 facility directors, is there a rumor in January that we're going to close the center? Absolutely, they said no. Here we are 7 months later, we're not closing one, we're closing 2. but they want to imply that they had no idea this was going to happen. I don't buy that. Somebody's behind this, and I'd like to know who it is. You know, in closing, I'd like to steal a line from the director of the ARC when she spoke today. She invited people to come out to a community home and see what a beautiful, loving, amazing place it was. And I offer that same exact invitation to any single person who wants to visit the Whitehaven Center or the Polk Center. Come out and see what an amazing, beautiful, loving community home it actually is. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. The next person to speak will be Carrie Gallagher. She's the director of District Council 87, where the Whitehaven Center is.
Thank you. As it's been said all morning and into the afternoon, this was a total irrational decision made by the Department of Human Services. No one knows best, and no one can give them a voice more than the direct caregivers that stand behind me. And I thank them for coming out and supporting not closing the two facilities, Whitehaven and Polk. They truly do care about the residents that they take care of at these centers, and they truly are their voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Save their homes! 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 Our next speaker will be Dave Henderson, Director of District Council 85, and he has Polk Center in his district. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, my sisters and brothers, for being here today. The main purpose for us to be here today simply is to talk about the people that are adversely affected by this misguided decision put forth by the current administration and the DHS. This is wrong. And many times we have an opportunity to do things that are better. Many times we have an opportunity to do things that are right. And sometimes it takes courage to admit when you're wrong. And this is the time that it takes courage to admit that you're wrong. Let's do the right thing. And let's do what? You know, the folks that we represent and the folks that we get a chance to work with on a daily basis truly do concern themselves with the well-being of the folks that they take care of. Today we have an obligation. Our obligation is to speak on behalf of those that don't have a voice. That's why you see so many signs up, because those folks can't be here to speak for themselves. When folks that are put in a situation that don't have the capability or the ability to understand what is being told to them, by getting a letter that says you are now being evicted from your home. Think about that for a second. Just think about that. They received a letter stating you are now being evicted from your home. Now they claim they have a choice. They claim that they have a choice, but the choice is they would rather stay home. They already have a home. This is their community. Look at the people behind me. Look at the folks that care for them every single day. That's their family. And the folks that they represent and their families, they know that's their family just as well, because they care for them on a daily basis. That's why we have an obligation to be here today. That's why we have an obligation to make sure their voice is heard, that they don't want to leave, that they want to remain where they're at. And I would submit this, that not only do we have an obligation, but every single individual who was elected to sit up in there has an obligation to do the same thing. Again, they have the ability to do something right here. They have the ability to say, let's fund the health centers. Let's make sure they're funded properly. Not just at Polk and Whitehaven, but all across the Commonwealth, because there are good things that occur. We could sit here and talk about success stories at the community centers. But again, look here. Let's talk about the success stories at Polk and Whitehaven. That's a success story. Those folks are taken care of. That's the missing ingredient in this conversation. We're allowing somebody else to dictate what this conversation is about, and we're not talking about all the success stories that occur at those centers and the other two centers that we currently have. We've allowed them to steal this conversation. We need to take it back. And by taking it back, what do we want?
Save their homes! Save their homes! Save their homes! Save their homes!
I want to thank all of you for being here today and for showing the support for the folks that you love and work with every single day. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. Our next speaker will be Wendell Young from UFCW.
We need more centers like this, not less. We need to help take care of the people who are the most vulnerable and their families who need the support of a caring, civilized, well, it's hard to say that here with who's in control of the House and Senate. You get the idea, right? Maybe some of the folks in that building behind me ought to come and work at one of these centers for a week or two. Maybe they ought to spend a week with a family who's trying to care for a loved one through this system and see what kind of support and needs that's important to them. Maybe they should have to do that. But you know, it's pretty comfortable in there, right? You get all dressed up, you come hang out with a lot of people like you don't have to deal with this stuff. And because you're probably part of a little wealthier class, if you have to, you might be able to deal with it privately. But not everybody can. They need the help and support of everybody here in Pennsylvania, and they should not be closing these centers. They ought to be funding them properly, and that's why the UFCW is here in full support of AFSCME and the people who need this system. Let's get this done right!
Thank you, Wendell. Our next speaker will be Bill Hill. Bill is the president of the Whitehaven Center.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a sad day today that we're even having to do this. On August 14th was a horrible day. We were told that the individuals were losing their homes without even asking them. We were possibly facing our jobs lost. But this is about their homes. This is about saving them. You know, when Hamburg closed a year ago, Hamburg Center, 15 people died from that transition. This is a matter of right and wrong. What is right and what is wrong? The state of Pennsylvania was founded on liberty. But here we are, taking away a choice from our own most vulnerable citizens. Shame on them. They better get this right. We're not going to stop. We're going to fight this till the end. Save their homes.
Save their homes! Save their homes! Save their homes!
Save their homes! Save their homes! Our next speaker is Tammy Luce. She's the president of Polk Center.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank all of you for being here to come out and support Polk and Whitehaven today. We had a few hundred more that couldn't be here with us today because they're at home taking care of our family members that are going to be ripped out of their homes. With that being said, we are prepared for this fight, and we're going to fight it until the end. We just spent hours of testimony. There's much more time to come, much more that we're going to go through, and I just want to thank all of you for your support.
Thank you, Tammy. We have a couple of legislators that are on their way out that are going to speak. They were, okay. How about this? Rick Bloomingdale from the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO. President Bloomingdale.
Go, Rick. Hey, Wendell. So I got grabbed, but you know, this is an issue that we've been fighting for so many years. And you know, exactly what we said back in the days, many, many years ago, when I was AFSCME's legislative director back in the 1980s, when they started to close state mental institutions, and I'm not supposed to call them institutions anymore, but facilities where folks are cared for who can't care for themselves. Both the intellectual disability facilities as well as the state mental hospitals. They started closing them one right after another because they said they'll be taken care of in the community. But what happened to those folks? They were never taken care of. They moved into prisons. They moved to the streets. They did not get the care that they needed when they closed those institutions and those facilities. That was wrong then, and it's wrong today. Those folks will not get the care that they need. Look, the others, they have all the best intentions in the world, but intent, you could pave, what's the old saying? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. And folks are not going to get the care they need. And that's why the patients' families are here with us, supporting us, making sure that their children or their adult children are taken care of. And you know, these are folks that have so many issues that families can't take care of them at home. This is a safe space for folks to be taken care of. And you see the care that the employees there every day. They work with their patients, making sure that they have everything that they need and activities and all the things to keep them engaged in a life where they can enjoy some kind of quality of care and life. So look, this is an issue. We fought Republican-led governors. We fought Democratic governors. We will fight for our workers there and the folks that they care for every step of the way. We do not want these folks harmed. We will make sure that they are protected. And Pennsylvania AFL-CIO, myself, our Secretary-Treasurer Frank Snyder, our 60 vice presidents and 700,000 members are with you every step of the way. Thank you so very much.
Okay, unfortunately, I'm being told that the legislators are all sitting on a panel, a Senate panel right now, with Teresa Miller. She is testifying. Still. But I wanted to let you know that Senator Scott Hutchinson is standing with us. Representative R. Lee James is standing with us. Senator Udicek is standing with us. And Representative Mullery is standing with us. And what we know, this is what we know. When we fight, we win. 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 Thank you. We have one more speaker, a senator coming down now. Okay. Who is it? Which one do we got? Oh, Mullery.
How's everybody doing? Fired up and ready to go. Boy, we had a long hearing today, but an important hearing. Let me say good afternoon. Today and always I stand with individuals with intellectual disabilities who, along with their loving families and the dedicated staff that serve them, have made a choice, their choice, to make Whitehaven Center and Polk State Center their home. We just heard from the department that it is their philosophy that these individuals, these people that we care about, deserve to be in a community. Whitehaven Center and Polk State Center are their community. The proposal to close Whitehaven Center and Polk State Center, done without any legislative input, done without the transparency of the budget process, is bad public policy. But most of all, it is a terrible way to treat people with intellectual disabilities and the dedicated professionals who care for them. I hope our voices today echo throughout the state capitol and thunder through the halls of the Department of Human Services. I hope our voices will give power to those without a voice and spark a movement to save Whitehaven and Polk, and equally important, a movement to protect some of the most vulnerable members of our society from politically motivated decisions to take away their choice where they call home and what community they live in. My dearly departed mother, Sally Adechek, worked at Whitehaven Center for many years. It is among the toughest jobs you can find in the care industry, but she loved it because she loved the people who call Whitehaven Center their home. It became part of her extended family. She was a mother at heart, 5 daughters and 2 sons. That's a lot of caring that she carried over, just as many of those that stand behind me, the proud professionals of this industry, who are not there as staff, as employees. They are there as part of their extended, dedicated family who have built a community and a home for these loving individuals. For the Whitehaven Center families, there is great comfort in knowing their loved ones are being treated with the utmost respect and care by a loving, dedicated staff. Instead of fostering that respect, care, and compassion, DHS is disrupting the lives of the people who live and work at Whitehaven and Polk Center. In addition to the deeply personal impact closing Whitehaven State Center and Polk Center will have, in addition to that deeply personal impact, the closing of these facilities will have significant and dramatic negative impact on the regional economies of the communities where these facilities are located. Over 1,200 jobs, good family-sustaining jobs, are being ripped away from these communities in northeastern Pennsylvania and northwestern Pennsylvania, ripped away from the communities where these facilities call home, and millions of dollars in annual economic losses will pile up on regional economies in the Northeast and the Northwest that are already struggling. The Department of Human Services should reconsider its decision to close Whitehaven Center and Polk State Center and listen, deeply listen to the people with intellectual disabilities who have chosen to call these centers their home. We fight today because they can't. We offer our voice because their voice needs to be heard. We call for a choice because their choice matters. Let individuals with intellectual disabilities choose to live where they receive the best care
where they receive the best care, not where some politician in Harrisburg has decided that his philosophy will decide where is their home and where is their community. Let them decide where they call home. Let them choose Whitehaven Center and Polk State Center. Thank you for the work you do.
Save their homes. Save their homes. Save their homes. Save their homes. Thank you, everyone who came out. That concludes our rally.